Well, it is special it is special to me in the sense that at that time when I was starting out, the one producer who kept hiring me was Stephen Cannell, and he was a producer of the A Team, and it was also special to me because prior to that, even though I was always a guest star, this is probably the biggest role that Stephen Cannell gave me to do. I had several scenes in which I interacted with the guys, and I got to tell you, the one guy that sticks in my mind was Mr. T. He was always, I mean, he was one of the greatest guy on this set. He's nice. He may seem very intimidating, but he was nice, and to me, he was always nice to me, and uh, and he was always saying, "Man, I'm making a lot of money. I'm making a ton of money right now." Yeah, which was, you know. And George Peppard he was more on the quiet side, pretty much like what you saw on the show. You know, they kind of the quiet leader type of guy. And those are the two. Well, and the Dwight that I had that one scene with it, when he in the courtroom, and he was pretty much off by himself too. Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of George Peppard and working alongside George Peppard in between breaks and takes, and this was the fifth season of the A Team, the last episode season of the A Team, and did you see maybe the strains and the pressure maybe getting a bit too George Peppard because a few years later everything started went sour, and did you feel that working alongside that maybe George prepared that there was maybe something extra or something going on there that just wasn't right?
Well, no, the only thing that I kind of witnessed was that uh, everybody seemed to like in doing their own thing.
Hmm.
They were like interest. Uh, although I think Eddie Velez and guy who played Face, what's his name?
Dirk Benedict.
Dirk Benedict. Yeah, they seem to hang out a little bit, but like I said, George was always by himself. And when after he did a scene, he would, go off. Although he was nice. He'll say hi to you. But pretty much he kept to himself. But at that time, George was already he was a huge movie star before he got the A Team anyway. So I guess for him it was just another day at the office.
And Dana, in terms of the episode that Stephen Cannell had you in, and it's a prominent role because it delves back in terms of the history of the A Team, and it goes back in
Right,
terms of Vietnam War and
right.
sort of interaction. So obviously people were waiting for this big massive discovery. What was the backdrop? What happened in Vietnam? What happened to the A Team in Vietnam?
Mhm.
And before that episode aired on TV and cable, did you have to keep it very much under wraps in terms of your participation in the episode, in terms of what was going to happen? Because I imagine there was a big suspense in the lead up to that show in particular.
You know, well, I didn't have to sign an NDA if that's what you mean. And nobody told me to keep it under wrap or anything like that. So no, although I didn't go around spilling the beans either,
Yeah.
so yeah, there was no NDA.
Yeah. And Dana, in terms of working on the set and what some of the stars of the A Team, people talk about the main cast of the A Team, but anybody that's appeared on the A Team and has guest starred in an episode, they will say equally the stars of the A Team that contribute to its success were the wonderful stunt team. That worked in the A Team. They were probably pioneers ahead of its time. And did you get to see some of the stunts up hand and first close? And were the stunt team in the 80s, in the A Team, did you feel that maybe that they were indeed a bit ahead of their time in what they were able to do?
Well, I have to tell you, around that time I did quite a few action movies, uh the A-Team, and like the Fall Guy. I was on the Fall Guy, and I have to tell you, I was amazed uh how good these guys were. I mean, we're talking television here. We're not talking about a movie where you have 10 hours to set up a stunt or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
these guys just go in and do it. And it always amazes me that, well, at least when I worked, that nobody got hurt.
Hmm.
You know. So, but it's different. When I did Rambo, uh, uh, First Blood Part Two before this, and the munition guy
Hmm.
who set the charges, on the hill where there's a lot. Well, he fell and died. So I mean, that was the only time that I've been on a set where somebody got hurt or killed or whatever. But no, never on the A-Team or any of the television shows that I worked with. Nobody got hurt, and like I said, they're amazing because these guys come in and they set up and they do the stunt, and it's like they do it in one take.
Hmm. And Dana, in terms of the A Team and having a credit on the A Team and a working actor at that time in terms of the Stephen Cannell production, did it sink into you in terms of the relevance and the importance of it? Obviously, appearing on season 5, the last season, the A Team, the height of its popularity, did it open doors and opportunities for you afterwards in terms of other roles, or did you just see it as part of the working profession? Did you not really revel in its importance maybe until a few years afterwards?
Well, James, it's funny because at that time, as a young, well, I wasn't that young. I was 40 around that time when I did the A-Team, but still relatively, I was struggling in the business, even though um, I think I I went back and looked on my IMDb around that time, and I think what gave me a leg up in Hollywood was Rambo, because I shot that in '84. No, I shot the A-Team in '85, which aired in '86. But and I went back and I looked in '86. There were like 6 shows that I did that aired. I said, "Whoa, are you kidding me?" I did 6 shows, I guess in '85. So I think I had a boost from doing Rambo already,
Yeah.
and like I said, all of a sudden I did like 6 TV shows around that time.
Yeah. And if I ask you, Dana, in your terms, when we talk about cult classic series and TV series that last decades, we think about Starsky and Hutch, which came out in the 80s,
I
Dukes of
was on that,
Hazzard in the 70s as well, another Kojak, The Rockford Files,
right?
Murder, She Wrote. These type of, then we go on to the 90s. We think of the Chuck Norris
Walker, Walker,
Ranger, Texas Walker
Walker, yeah,
Ranger, another
Walker, yeah,
iconic
Walker,
series
yeah,
that have decent series that came out the 80s and 90s. They're what you call generational pieces because they
right.
still last and last and just still rerun to this day. What do you think made these types of shows, and the A-Team fits into one of those that made them even relevant there today? Because there was hundreds of shows that were produced in the 80s and 70s and 90s, and some of them never went on to be replayed or they go
Right.
past their decade, while the A-Team seems to be a timeless piece.
Well, I think uh, like any good show, I think the first credit you have to give to it is the writing, is the concept. I think Stephen Cannell is what's great at conceiving ideas and fresh ideas and new ideas. And And I think with all his shows, even though there's a lot of actions in it, but there's also a lot of camaraderie between the lead characters, and there's always banter, there's humor, um, and there's human elements in it. And I think a lot of that is missing today. You know, you're there. I think they're there to entertain people, but entertain people in what sense? You know, uh, you want to make them laugh and you want to make them cry
Yeah.
and you want to touch and hopefully maybe once in a while you leave a little message, you know,
Yeah.
um, about life, about whatever. Uh, the Twilight Zone always did that, you know. There's always a hidden message with every episode of Twilight Zone. Same thing with Star Trek. You know, people might not catch it immediately, but there's always a commentary on society. Uh, you know, and nowadays, I don't know, you know, I watch a lot of stuff and it seems to me like yeah, they nowadays they think to capture the audience interest or you know, they do stuff that I call shock value, you
Yeah.
know, and the storyline is out of it doesn't matter, and which is you know stupid,
Yeah.
you know.
And Dana, I believe you've been to Ireland once or twice. You might enlighten our audience about your experience visiting Ireland.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know whether you've ever heard of it because I don't think it did well at the box office, but I did a movie called The Honeymooners
Okay.
with Cedric the Entertainer, Mike
Oh,
Epps.
Cedric the Entertainer, yes.
Yes, as Ralph Cramden, and I was in the movie. I played. He was trying to, you know, like Ralph Cramden of the TV show. He's always trying to find some scheme to make a fast buck. So he wants to buy this train, and I happen to be the businessman who actually bought it. And anyways, yeah. The funny thing is, you know, the honeymooners takes place in what Brooklyn, right? Or
Yeah.
Queens. But we shot 90% of it in Ireland,
Okay.
in Dublin, outside, you know, the studio outside of Dublin. So, and I was fortunate enough that I was on this shoot for 3.5 weeks, and there was like a couple couple of weeks where I did nothing. So I decided to I took a trip all around in Ireland. You know, went to Cork, went to like you said, the west side,
Yeah.
uh, western part of the island, and I even went to Northern Ireland. Took a train up there, spent a day up there.
Okay.
Incredible. Yeah, I even went to one weekend. I went to in London too.
Okay. Fascinating.
But
And
I loved Dublin. Man,
yeah.
I enjoyed it.
And Dana, I do believe 2024 is a busy year for you. You have a number of projects in the pipeline.
Yeah, well, I have a couple of things out right now. I have a movie that's well, I have a low budget movie that I think everybody should see. It's called Dealing with Dad. You can catch it on Prime, Apple TV. It's called Dealing with Dad, and it's about a man who is going through depression, and he and it's also about the relationship between him and his kids, and also about the kids' interaction. Anyway, it's great. It's a great little film. You'd be surprised how well it's done for a really low budget. And then I have a movie coming out in September called Rebel Ridge. In fact, I think, you know, we have to reschedule our meeting here today because I'm actually going to a screening of it right after this.
Okay, fascinating.
Yeah, it's called Rebel Ridge, and it's stars who is that? Aaron Pierre
Okay.
and Anna Marie Robb. Yeah. So
And Dana, before I let you go, the question that we finish up with all our audience and all our guest members that have appeared in the A-Team Good Guys, Bad Guys documentary, let's pretend there was an A-Team encyclopedia, a dictionary as such, and they put your character, Colonel Chun Van Quyet, in the A-Team encyclopedia, and they left two blank sentences under his name, a sort of synopsis as such. And they asked you, having played the role of Colonel Chun Van Quyet, to write those two sentences. What would you like those two sentences to read, Dana?
he was responsible for putting the A-Team on trial.
He was responsible for putting the A-Team on trial, but
Yeah,
sentence number
because it
one
was
and
my
last one.
testimony that got them there, right?
Yeah.
They came to me and said, "Hey, you know," I said, yeah. And the second sentence is, however, he wasn't successful.